Yo, people, what's going on? It's your favorite World Challenge player who doesn't play the deck anymore. I promise soon it'll come out. There's a deck profile somewhere. But anyway, point of this video is I put a lot of heart into this. My updated generator deck profile. I really love this deck. Been playing it a lot at locals, online, testing it nonstop to get it to where it needs to be. This deck is great. In a world where there's nothing but negate deck and heavy control or one-for-one trades, this deck has a lot of spice, different kind of interruptions. It's fun, it's different. You can use it any way you want. It's very creative, and you can use it for engines. But this is the build I've been working on for so long and have much success with, and I'd be happy to get into it for you guys. So first things first, 2 copies of Har, Generator Boss, of Storms, the big boy you want to bring out every time. For those of you who don't know, you can only control one of him, and he is an Omni Negate. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you can remove 2 tokens from your side of the field or any generator monsters and negate that effect and destroy that card. More importantly, he has a second effect that helps you gain advantage or disrupt your opponent. If they add a card from deck to hand, you can have your opponent send 1 monster from their hand or field to the graveyard. So it's a good way to, if they only have like a handful of spell and traps and they search a specific monster, you force them to pitch that monster and they lose their main play starter. So really good effect to have overall, and definitely the card you want to summon first most of the time if you have no monsters on the field with your field spell. 2 copies of Hela. So this one is very simple. Quick effect, you can tribute a generator monster or zombie, and then special summon 1 generator monster from the graveyard. You don't want to run heavy on Har or any of the others, because Hela is basically a pseudo version of any of the ones that you need. You bring out your main negates and disruptions, then you bring out Hela later on in turns 3 and 4, and she'll be able to revive any of your needed utility cards. So just run 2. You always want to see her later in the game. 2 copies of Mardell, Generator Boss of Light. This is your Rhoda. So on summon, she can search for any generator card. And she's one of your main targets for the combo. I'll get into the combo once I get to the normal summons, but basically you just want to make sure that you have her to search anything that you're missing from your initial board setup. Now finally for the one-ofs. For the big boys at least, 1 copy of Agarda. He lets you tribute 2 generator monsters or rock types to banish a card in the field. Really good spot removal. Banishing meaning that it goes through a lot of destruction prevention. It does target, which doesn't out Dragoon, but we have ways around that. But banishing any card in the field is fantastic. Multi-tool, very nice. 1 copy of Nidhogg. So you can tribute a generator monster or a worm to negate any special summon or special summons. Note it only banishes. It only negates a summon for inherent summons, so you can't negate spells that special summon and so on. But still, always nice to negate a summon or multiple summons. Great against pendulum summon. Could really out that real easy. And 1 copy of Frodi. A lot of people cut this card because it forces you to give your opponent advantage. You tribute any number of generator monsters or warriors, and then you pop that many monsters on the field, and then your opponent draws a card for each one that was destroyed. In theory, that's really bad, because your opponent, let's say if you pop 2 monsters, they draw 2 cards. But when you're in that last final grind game and you're playing against a combo deck, they need materials on board to climb to swing with a boss monster. Having this as your last-ditch effort to pop multiple materials for setups is just too good. And chances are you're already on that turn 3-4, which means your opponent's not going to have the the cards they draw aren't going to be the extenders that they need. They're going to be like extenders that they search from deck or bricks in the hand. They're really not going to be that useful. So a well-timed Frodi pop for 2 or more can just be devastating to your opponent. Really close out the game. And now, finally, Divulgus. You have to run this card at 1. If you brick and you draw multiple of the level 9s, this card can save you. It's basically your last-ditch effort to not lose the game. So you can quick effect tribute as many generator monsters or machines as possible, and special summon that many generator monsters from your hand of different names. So if you draw a bunch of level 9s, you just summon this out. Field Spell gives you the tokens, and then the tokens can be tributed off along with him to get more level 9s out from your hands. You have to run this at 1. If I didn't run this at all, I would be breaking way more than I'd like to. And now for a different kind of 2 of Loptar, 2 copies. This is essentially a multi-tool. During your opponent's main phase, you can tribute him. Actually, during the main phase period, you can tribute him to special summon any generator monster from the deck. So you can search for any of your negates. You can search for Mardell to search. You can search for Hela to revive. It does whatever, whatever you need it to do, it does it for you. It's nice in that way. And then during your opponent's turn, your other generator monsters gain 1,000 attack, which makes it hard for your opponent to beat over your monsters or your tokens first. So they have to deal with your board before they can just swing into things to reduce your resources. Really good card, and comes in handy with another card we'll get to in just a second. Now, I'm not the pioneer of this tech. I'm sure you've all seen the combos online, but the 1 combo Girsu is needed for this format. Generators is a slow control deck, and you need a lot more than a push, like a back row heavy game plan to deal with the meta, and especially with things like Feather Duster now running around. You don't want to rely on having a heavy negate to get you through. So this forces your opponent to use the hand traps that they would normally save for your field spell activation. So the combo I'll get into towards the end of the video if you haven't seen it already. But it basically lets you end on Calamities as well as your field spell and Dragon. And you gotta play it. The worst part, the best part, is that if your opponent negates the initial first effect with Ash Blossom, which the effect is on normal summon, you can send a World Legacy card to the graveyard. You can still use the second effect to get tokens, and then still make Dragon with the token, and well, not the token, but with you link away the token, then you use this guy, make Predaplant Anaconda, and then you still go ahead and make Dragon. So they need to hit it with Impermanence. If they don't have Impermanence and they ash it instead, you still have something to do with this card. So really good to bait out those hand traps. On top of that same theme, we have 3 copies of Condemned Witch. Condemned Witch is great for this archetype. So on normal summon, you can search for any forbidden spell. In this case, we have 1 copy of Droplets, which we'll get to in a second. So you search Droplets, and then during your opponent's main phase, you can tribute her to special summon a level 4 fairy, which happens to be Loptar. So you can tribute her, summon Loptar, and then Loptar can tribute himself to summon any other generator from the deck. So really good piece of disruption. Again, it forces out that hand trap. They have to negate this if they don't want you to plus. And even if they negate the first effect on summon, they have to use another hand trap to stop the summon of Loptar from deck. So no matter what, your opponent's going to lose a card to this if they don't deal with it right away. It's just too good not to run. So 6 normal summons. I know it sounds like a lot, and Loptar's considered a normal summon, but you want to make sure that your normal summons are so impactful that they force your opponent to play against you, so the rest of your cards become uncontested during their turn. So you got to play these heavy lineups. It's really good. 1 copy of the Brick, World Legacy Armor. So when it's revived, you could search for a World Legacy card. This is what you dump off of Girsu. The World Legacy card you search is Monstrosity, so this is just a combo piece to extend and get the card that you need for the combo. I'll go over that in a second. Some hand traps, 3 Ash, really just a catch-all for the meta. Stop so many things. We already know how good it is. I'm running 2 Drone Lockbird. There's a lot of 1-for-1 trading and searching and going on in today's meta with Eldritch, with Invoked Eldritch and Dogmatica. This stops those decks in their tracks. We got a lot of Pendulum players here, so that also helps that. Of course, your meta may vary and your locals are online, so change the hand traps accordingly, but I feel Droll is really good to just shut down your opponent, and then you can make your plays without being interrupted. And now for some bricks. Red Eyes and Dark Magician. You already know why they're here. Alright, on to the meat and potatoes of the deck and your win condition. Generator boss stage. So for those of you who don't know, talking about those tokens, when your opponent adds a card from deck to hand, even during the draw phase, you can special summon 1 generator monster from the deck. And then once that generator monster is summoned, you could summon tokens to your side of the field as many as possible. It forces you to summon as many. So this gives you resources to tribute for card effects, as well as link fodder during your your opponent's turn if you have IP Masquerena. But basically, you need those tokens to tribute for your interruptions, and every turn this is gonna get you a boss monster. So as long as it stays up on the field, you're gonna keep gaining advantage. You're gonna keep creating pressure. So it's mandatory this card is in your hand and resolves on the field. And of course, to complement that, we have a copy of Terraforming. So there's that. 3 copies of Generator Boss Quest. This is your main rota for your spells and traps. You reveal a generator card in your hand, rather a monster, and search for 2 generator spells or traps of different names, and then that generator monster goes to the bottom of your deck. So you search the field spell, you search one of the traps to complement that, and then you get a plus. You break even, but since the field spell summons a monster, it's technically a +1. And it gets rid of those bricky level 9s you don't want to see. So really good. You have to run it. 3 copies of World Legacy Monstrosity. Lets you special summon a level 9 from your hand. Again, helps you unbrick. And the other effect is that instead of doing that, you can special summon 2 level 9s from the deck by targeting a level 9 on the field. And you summon 2 copies of 2 level 9 monsters of different types and attributes. So all the generators are different types and attributes. So you just target one and then summon 2 others based off of the opposite attributes. So really powerful card, really good, and again, searchable with the combo. 1 copy of World Legacy Succession. This is strictly here just for the combo. You could use it for a future extender, but most of the time you're going to be searching this to activate it. 1 copy of Droplets. Again, searchable. In today's meta, Dragon's a problem. Non-targeting. What more could I say? And the 1 copy of Red Ice Fusion. Finally, to the traps. 3 copies of Generator Boss Fight. This is essentially Murderverse for your deck. It lets you activate a generator field spell from the deck or graveyard. So even if your opponent MSTs or pops your field spell and you have no more in deck, you can still activate the one from your graveyard, which is crazy good. Because that essentially means you have 6 copies or 7 copies with Terraforming in your deck at any time. So your opponent's not getting rid of your field spell, you're going to keep that on the board at all times. They do draw a card when you activate it, but that just facilitates the effect of the field spell. And because the field spell is not a once per turn, or at least a hard once per turn, if you activate a different copy, whether it be from the graveyard or the deck, you then get to summon another boss from the deck. So it's super good. 1 copy of Generator Boss Room. This is the other trap that you can search with Boss Quest. Really mandatory to run the one of. You can side it out during games 3 and 2. What it does is if your opponent responds to any of your generator cards, you can discard a card to make that effect become each player draws a card. So if the field spell activates, they try to ash it, you can flip this, respond, that effect becomes each player draws a card, and this is important because when your opponent draws a card, you special summon a boss from the deck. So it's just really good soft removal for any effect. And it's just so good, so good. Like, it saved me so many times. And finally, to round off the heavy hand traps, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. You need it. Let's be real here. Alright, on to the extra deck. We have the combo pieces. So, I'll go over the combo again later, but for right now, Linkuriboh for token, making him. Lib, which searches helps you search the monstrosity as well as the World Legacy Succession. Link Cross to make tokens, and those tokens, along with Linkuriboh, is used to make Trishula. Trishula, again, is part of the combo. I'll go over that. Anaconda, again, part of the combo. You already know. And even if you don't combo, if you can get 2 monsters on board, make Dragoon. Speaking of which, there he is. Finally, some tech for extra deck filler. IP Masquerena, Phoenix, Unicorn. 1 more piece of filler as far as link material, Blackluster Soldier. This card is super good because guess what? You have level 9s. So he could become unaffected by targeting as well as can't be destroyed by, I believe it's battle. Oh no, by opponent's card effects. So it can't be destroyed by card effects, can't be targeted. So if you make this against a lot of the meta decks, guess what? Your opponent has to run over it. And that doesn't happen when you're 3,000 attack or higher if he swings into something. So really good to have. Now into the rank 9s. Jormungandr, or whatever the frick. You don't go into this one too often. All he does is when your opponent draws a card or adds a card from deck to hand, you can make each player attach a card as material from the field. And, I mean, it's okay, but, like, it's just good because he can get to 4,000 attack over time. But other than that, he's really kind of useless, let's be real. But you still need to run him because sometimes you need to get over certain things. Especially with Dragoon going over to like 4,000 attack, 5,000 attack, so he can get higher. One copy of Infinitrack Earthslicer. Big beat stake, 3,100. Gets over most things. And also can pop cards equal to the materials you detach from him. So if you detach 2 materials, you can target 2 cards on the field and pop them. So good removal, good big beater, so on. Your out to Dragoon is Phantom Fortress. It's non-targeting, non-anything banish. So you detach a material and activate one of the effects accordingly. Banish a card from your opponent's hand. Monster, spell trap, graveyard. It's whatever you need to banish, you can banish it. And it's non-targeting. One copy of 9 Lives Cat. So this essentially does the same as Hela, where you can special summon a level 9 from the graveyard. Now, the reason why this is a little more important is like, oh, why not just make Hela when this requires 2 level 9s? You could end up with the really crappy level 9s, or maybe they already used their effects. Make this, and then not only is it a really big body in defense mode, but it also can revive multiple monsters over turns. And also, those level 9 monsters that were summoned from the graveyard, your opponent can't target the monsters that were special summons from that graveyard. So, it protects them as well as gives you recursion. So, in a pinch and a really long grind game, this can come in handy. And then finally, Calamities, because eventually it's going to get banned. But it's part of the combo. Finally, the side deck. Since this is what I've been working with recently, I figured I'd show the side deck. Normally I don't because it's according to your meta, but these are really good catch-all situation cards, I feel, for the deck. 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. You gotta keep your back row safe. You gotta keep your stuff safe, especially your field spell. This is pretty much the protection against all. Definitely great for going first guaranteed. 3 copies of Evenly Match. Your deck is slow, and if you're forced to go second, you have a hard time setting up. So if you can evenly match your opponent going second, and then set up the rest, you're golden. You can go ahead and get as much advantage as possible over time. 3 copies of Nibiru, combos everywhere. We got to drop the rock, make sure that they don't play. I don't main deck this because this can screw you over too in a lot of situations. And honestly, you're built more for trying to go first anyway. Hand traps in general just cover more bases going first and second. Even if you go first and you have hand traps in your hand, they still do something. But you really don't want to Nibiru yourself when you already have your negate on board and then your tokens. You don't want to exhaust all that or be forced to exhaust it just to stop your opponent from comboing. So you're better off with the regular hand traps like Impermanence, Ash, and Droll than slamming down on Nibiru. So better to side deck it than main deck it. The 3rd copy of Droll and Lockbird, because again, combo is big and I hate pendulums. Copy of Pankratops, always overperforms. It's a 2-for-1 trade. You know how good this card is. 1 copy of Feather Duster for all you back row decks out there. Thank God it's at 1. We get something. And finally, 3 copies of Anti-Spell. I was running a pointer at the Red Lotus at one point, but I kind of stopped liking it. A pointer forces you to get a 1-for-1 trade. You're activating the card to remove a threat. Most of those threats are in the form of spell and spell removal. So if you can just anti-spell them and then get your negates and banishes ready for when they eventually flip it up, you're already in that winning position. So anti-spell slows them down, prevents your opponent from using those really big back row removals pieces. I find it to be a lot more effective in the hard going first game 3. So that's the full deck profile. We're going to go into the combo really fast. So let me go ahead and get that set up. Da-da-da-da-da. If you guys like the deck profile, please like and subscribe. We really need the attention. Some of us, not all of us. Do 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 do. All right, so this goes as follows. We're gonna go ahead and normal summon. Ooh, wrong normal summon. Go ahead and normal summon the Girsu. Now, this activates its effect to send a card to the graveyard, which is going to be World Legacy, World Armor. You're going to use Girsu's second effect to get tokens to your side of the field, as well as your opponent. You're going to link off that token, and you're going to make Linkuriboh. You then link these two away into Lib. Lib's effect is going to activate, letting you set a World Legacy card directly from your deck to the field because you have a World Legacy card in the graveyard. You could also activate it this turn, so we're going to search for Succession. We're going to activate Succession, and we're going to target the World Armor, special summon it. Now that it's special summoned, we can go ahead and search for World Legacy Monstrosity. Now from this point, you're going to go ahead and link away Lib into Linkcross, everybody's favorite card. And you're going to go ahead and get 2 tokens. Now, using the effect of Linkuriboh in the graveyard, we're going to go ahead and tribute that token to special summon the Linkuriboh. At this point, you go ahead and use Linkuriboh, the token, and the Linkcross to go into Trishula. Now, Trishula says that you can summon him by banishing 3 monsters with different names. So they're all different, they're banished. We got Trishula on the board. Now the important reason why we do this is because Trish is a level 9, which means that monstrosity that we searched we can now activate. So targeting Trishula, we're going to special summon 2 level 9s from the deck. One of them is always going to be Mardell. The other one could be any of your other less impressive generator monsters. So in this case, we'll just choose the Volgus. Mardell's going to activate, which allows us to search Generator Boss Stage. So we'll put that to hand. We can activate the boss stage, and we'll go ahead and climb Xyz, into Calamities. So already we're looking good if we got Calamities. These 2 extra materials, Mardell and Armor, can link away into Anaconda. Anaconda effect. Go ahead and send yourself the Red Eyes Fusion and the Dark Magician and Red Eyes to the grave. And summon your big boy Dragon. So for 1 card, you have Dragon, Calamities, and your field spell is searched from deck. Now when your opponent draws their card for turn, you're going to activate boss stage, and you can summon the best boss monster there is, which is Har. Har always has to be in defense position. Anything you special summon from that effect has to be in defense. And now, because you special summon a generator from deck, you get 2 tokens. So with 1 card, you have Calamities, Negate from Red Eyes, and 2 tokens, which makes Generator Boss Stage, Generator Boss of Storms live. So that's 2 negates, a shutdown on your opponent, whatever cards in your hand, hand traps, floodgates, whatever, they're there, ready to go. So that's the full combo. It's super potent. Your opponent's probably going to scoop on this. Even if they Dark Ruler no more, you still have back row, and Dark Ruler no more only negates the monsters on field. So if they start to clear out monsters, you could just activate the trap card, activate another boss stage, summon another boss, and then it can use its effect because it's not under the effect of Dark Ruler. So you're not completely assed out if you get Dark Ruler, which is crazy. But that is the full combo, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Like I said, I've been having huge success at locals and online. The deck is fantastic. So like, subscribe, leave any comments, suggestions, and we'll see you around later.